Today I'm going to show you how to install one of these into that. This is the header that we're installing. This is a DME header for the Gen 1 XB. I got this for $97 shipped on eBay, which is an incredible deal. That's why we're using it. It's basically a DC Sports ripoff, a 4-in-1. What's nice about this header, and I think unlike the DC Sports, is this area right there is actually tapped to take on the new bolts. So I have new bolts and springs that I got from Amazon, and then also you'll see that we are wrapping this. We are in the process, and we're going to film the. This is a titanium wrap that I got on Amazon for $16 shipped. This is the exhaust wrap we're using. You can see it in here. It's fiberglass, titanium in color. $16 shipped on Amazon. Check the description of the video. I got a link there. Alright guys, so courtesy of my cousin Gus, check out what we got here. We're pretty much ready to get this thing on the car. And once we start getting it in place, you'll know why we wrapped it. We didn't wrap it just to wrap stuff. We wrapped it for a reason, and I'll show you that in a minute. Before we can install the header, we got to remove a strut bar brace that's on here. If you don't have this piece, then obviously you don't have to do this part. But the header, in theory, is going to come out through the backside here, out to the front of the engine, not from underneath. So in order to do that, we got to make sure that our strut bar is out of the way. So I got to go ahead and remove it. Now that we got the strut bar removed, we're going to go ahead and remove the heat shield off of the original header. So we're going to remove 4 bolts. This one, and there are 2 more down here. We got one on this side, and we got one on that side. All 4 are 10 millimeter. Oh, just drop those bolts. Nothing but dead weight. All right, we got that header, that heat shield off. And you can see here how ridiculous. It's just laughable at this header that comes on this car. I mean, what is this thing? Anyway, we have a series of bolts to remove. Let's see if you can see them. And then we got some down by the collector. I don't know if you can see that. When we do the ones down by the collector, we're actually going to lift this car up on the, it's currently on a lift. So we're going to lift it up to get those. But now we're going to get the bolts off the exhaust manifold. So let's do that. For the manifold, you need 12 millimeter. These are the screws, bolts. They're awful. They're super cheesy. So you got to be real careful you don't strip them out. You can see just how thin the head of these things are. So you got to be real careful. They're really cheesy. 12 millimeter. We're finishing up here, getting the last of the 5 bolts. Once again, I can't stress enough how cheesy these things are. This car has over 250,000 miles on it, and we were able to get it off with a little PB blaster and some American muscle. So be really careful. Make sure you're using a 5-point, is it 5-point or 6-point?
6-point.
A 6-point socket on these things. So be really careful. Alright guys, we are underneath the car. How cool is this? My cousin Gus has a lift in his garage. What? So we're under the car, and these are who we're after right now. Do you see those guys there? We got one there, and we got one there. So my cousin Gus thinks he can just crank this off with a ratchet. I recommended the air gun. We're gonna see who's right in about 2 seconds. All right, you got it, you got it. Let's see the other side. Don't undo it all the way, man. You got to do it evenly. Oh, we did it! 250,000 miles on this car. These things are original, and they're cranking off with a wrench. You cannot beat Japanese engineering. You just can't beat it. Look at that. 250,000 miles. It's a 2006 car, and it is now 2017, almost 2018. 12 years. 12 years.
I got the last bolt that we forgot on the exhaust bracket. I'm about to drop it on the floor.
What size is it?
15 millimeters.
15 millimeter. Alright, so some of you guys are actually watching this right now saying, why are you bothering with a header on a 100 horsepower car? Well, the reason that we are doing it is we want to get the most out of our engine as possible. Since it is so limited in horsepower, we want to squeak every little piece of horsepower out of it that we can. So I just want to show you real quick what the old one looked like and what the new one looks like. You can see here that we got a 4 and a 1, which is the same sort of idea we have here, but the runners are much longer as well as wider. So you're looking here, you see a nice flow, mandrel bent compared to this restrictive, tiny little hold header. And then when we look at the collectors, you can see there, looks very nice. Here, looks terrible. So this thing isn't exactly going to make this car super fast or anything like that, but what it will do is give it a little bit more top end, and it should get better fuel economy.
71 mile an hour, here we come!
I had to reuse the old exhaust gasket. I tried to find this exact gasket in many places, but everything I got was too big or too small. So we're just going to reuse the stock one. We also got some new hardware to replace the old stuff. This DME header came with a new gasket, so we're going to go ahead and use it. We're going to reset the battery. That way when we reconnect it, the ECU is going to relearn the air-fuel mixture and hopefully increase horsepower. Before we install our header, we want to go ahead and clean up the exhaust manifold. I already did that with some brake cleaner and a rag. I have the new gasket on there that came with the header. Now we're going to reinstall the header. It's going to reinstall the same way it came out, which I know you didn't see it in the video, but it's right through here. Stinks out here. Like PP Blaster. We don't plan on ever taking this header off, but just in case, you put a little bit of anti-seize on these threads of these new hardware we got. Alright, so there is a torquing order when reinstalling your header. Basically, you're going to work from the outside in. So we're going to go the 2 studs on the complete perimeter. Then we're going to work our way into the center, or to the ones closest to the center. The center bolt will be last. Alright, so we have the header installed. It's not torqued down, but it's snug. So now we're going to get the car back up in the air, and we're going to reinstall our new bolts and springs. Alright guys, here you can see our header is in line with the rest of the exhaust system. We just got to put our bolts through. And one thing I wanted to show you is that this bracket, which now is not doing anything, we can go ahead and remove it. So we got 2 bolts to remove there, and then the bracket can come out, and guess what? We just saved some weight! We got the exhaust flange bolts, finger tight. You can see them up here. When you tighten these bolts, hey guys! Hi. When you tighten these bolts, you want to do it evenly. One side at a time. Don't crank down one side too tight and then try to do the other. They got to be even. Alright guys, we are finished with the header installation. I want to show you real quick why it was so important that we wrap the header in that heat wrap. With this new header, you can't reinstall the old heat shield, which is fine. That thing was lame. So we wrapped it with the titanium wrap that I got from Amazon. But I want to show you real quick why we did it. If you look down here, you see these 2 cables. All right, now they do have some kind of insulation on here from the factory, but what those are shifter cables. And if you don't wrap your header, it's possible that you can burn through those. So if you buy an aftermarket header and you can't reuse the stock heat shield, I highly recommend wrapping it with some sort of wrap. Well, as you can see, I'm back home. The car did not catch on fire, which is awesome. And I'm sure you're wondering, what do I think of the new header? As far as performance-wise, I probably lost a foot-pound of torque and probably gained a little bit on the top end. I will say that you can definitely feel on the highway. It does feel like it has more passing power. But as far as an overall, how much better is it, how much faster is it? It's not much faster at all. But I wasn't expecting much. I really wasn't. Really happy with the way everything turned out. Nothing is caught on fire. If you are going to install an aftermarket header, I highly recommend you wrap it. I can't stress that enough. If you want more information on how to wrap your header, there's going to be another video coming out in the next couple days where we're going to go over a little bit more detail on how we actually wrap the header. And if you have any interest in any of the parts or products that we used in this video, there will be a link below. Please click on those links, except for the header, which we got off eBay. So no link for that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. Later.